Another voice falls silent as one Nazi death camp's last survivor dies. Moshav Udim, Israel. The death of 93-year-old Holocaust survivor Samuel Willenberg marks the end of more than just one man's life. Willenberg was the last known link to the notorious death camp of Treblinka, perhaps the most vivid example of Nazi Germany's attempt to destroy European Jewry. But Willenberg's February 19th death also symbolizes a looming shift in the field of Holocaust commemoration, as historians and educators prepare for a world without survivors. They now face the challenge of maintaining the memory of the Nazi genocide without the aid of those who witnessed it. Willenberg was born in Częstochowa, Poland, in 1923. After World War II began in 1939, he and millions of other European Jews were sent to prison camps established by the Nazis. About 6 million Jews died in these camps, an event now known as the Holocaust. Willenberg was one of just 67 men known to have survived the Treblinka camp after a revolt of the captives there. He was 20 years old at the time of his escape. Memories in bronze. After the war, he moved to Israel and devoted his final years to preserving the memory of more than 875,000 people systematically murdered at Treblinka during the war. He was a frequent public speaker, wrote a book that was translated into 8 languages, and led dozens of youth missions to the remnants of the destroyed camp in Poland. Later in life, he took to sculpting to describe his experiences, and his bronze statues reflected what he saw: Jews standing on a train platform, a father removing his son's shoes before entering the gas chambers, a young girl having her head shaved, and prisoners removing bodies. It was his life's mission. He saw himself as the echo of the murdered, as their loudspeaker. He lived it daily, and in so many ways, he never left Treblinka, said Gideon Grief, chief historian of the Shem Olam Institute, who knew Willenberg well. He was committed to making sure that the voices of the victims were not forgotten, and now that personal element is gone. Hundreds paid homage at Willenberg's funeral in Israel. Government officials from both Israel and abroad were among those who recognized the watershed moment of his passing. Israeli President Reuven Rivlin spoke at the funeral, calling Willenberg a symbol for an entire generation of heroic Holocaust survivors. Few left to remember the horrors pass on stories. More than 70 years after the war, the window of opportunity is rapidly closing on the survivors' ability to relay their stories. Some 180,000 elderly survivors remain in Israel, with a similar number worldwide, but more than 1,000 die each month, and experts predict that within 7 years, none will be well enough to share anything of significance. That prospect has become the central challenge of Holocaust institutes around the world. An oral history of testimonies has been collected and filmed, and descendants are receiving training on how to carry on their parents' stories. There is a huge added value to hearing survivor testimony firsthand, said Nama Agozi, a trainer of teachers at the Yad Vashem Holocaust Memorial's International School of Holocaust Studies. You can read a book or watch a movie, but there's no substitute to someone who can say, "I was there." Crediting sheer chance for survival. Willenberg was among the most powerful of these witnesses. With a booming voice and a storyteller's charisma, he recounted his ordeal in detail in a wide-reaching interview with the Associated Press in 2010, tearing up on several occasions. His 2 sisters were murdered at the camp, and he described his own survival as sheer chance. It wasn't because of God. He wasn't there. He was on vacation, he said. Along with the lesser-known Belzec and Sobibor camps, Treblinka was designed with the sole intention of exterminating Jews, as opposed to others that had at least a facade of being a prison or labor camps. Treblinka's victims were transported there in cattle cars and gassed to death almost immediately upon arrival. Only a select few people, mostly young, strong men like Willenberg, were assigned to maintenance work instead. In all, the Nazis and their collaborators killed about 6 million Jews during the Holocaust. The death toll at Treblinka was second only to Auschwitz, a prison camp where more than 1 million Jews died in gas chambers or from starvation, disease, and forced labor. A bullet in the leg, and still he ran. On August 2, 1943, Willenberg joined a group of Jews who revolted against the Nazis, stole some weapons, set fire to Treblinka, and headed to the woods. Hundreds fled, but most were shot and killed by Nazi troops or captured by Polish villagers, who returned them. The survivors became the only source of knowledge about Treblinka, since the Nazis all but destroyed the camp near the end of the war in an effort to hide what happened there from the world. All that remains today are a series of concrete slabs representing the train tracks, and mounds of gravel with a memorial of stone tablets representing lost communities. Willenberg was shot in the leg during the escape and kept running, ignoring dead friends in his path. He said his blue eyes and non-Jewish look allowed him to survive in the countryside before arriving in Warsaw. Once there, he joined the Polish underground and resisted the Nazis occupying Poland's capital. "It never leaves me," he said in 2010. "It stays in my head. It goes with me. Always." If this is your first time listening to this, go back to the beginning and listen to it one more time. If this is your second time listening to this, choose a section that you'd like to read aloud to the Explain Everything app. Rehearse it a few times with yourself and a friend, and then go ahead and record it.